Okay, welcome to Learning Objective 3. The next two objectives deal with occupational health and safety. So we'll dive right into it. Most of the content is in this first one here. So it says, identify the requirements and implications of workplace health and safety. Okay, so workplace health and safety, again, a lot like employment standards, provides minimums. All right, so at the minimum, if you follow the workplace health and safety, that gets you to having a safe environment. And why is a safe environment helpful? Well, a safe environment is helpful is because people will obviously want to work in a safe place. Now, the next thing beyond safety is being engaging. So this is sort of like all the other laws we talk about. It's kind of a minimum. But anyway, some of the other advantages from having a safe environment is obviously your legal compliance, so you're not getting fined or even arrested, possibly. Reduced turnover and absenteeism, so it's a good place to work. People will want to come to work. And again, you've got good recruiting, and then if people feel safe, they're freed up for higher level tasks like creativity and innovations. All right, so again, like all things legal here is by following the law, you get to the minimum. So, and at a minimum, you need to feel safe at work before you can be productive. All right then. Workplace injuries, all right? This is kind of some classic stuff in health and safety here is, so when you talk about workplace accidents and occupational related incidents, so accidents are like a car accident, something which is acute. Occupational related illnesses, things that are chronic. Let's say, for example, you get mesothelioma from breathing in too much asbestos over time, right? So anyway, both of these are costly, both to employees and employers. Obviously, for the employee, you haven't got your health, you haven't got much, right? So yeah, if you're hurt by an accident or an illness, you can't work. That's not good. And for the employer, that's not very good either because, well, obviously the cost of a major accident, I mean, you know, you can get into fines and yeah, things like that. But really the cost to an organization's reputation is really huge. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that organization where everybody doesn't want to work because it's safe. Okay, so classic occupational health diseases. Work accidents are caused by two things, a combination of unsafe employee behavior and unsafe working conditions. All right, so if we talk about unsafe behavior, that might be something as simple as not wearing your PPE, so not wearing safety glasses or not wearing steel-toed boots, things like that. And the unsafe working conditions are things like the floor being slippery or what else? Bad ventilation, things like that. Okay, so combination then of these two factors, unsafe place and unsafe working conditions, creates accidents and bad things. Okay, so if we want to look at an overall model for safety in the workplace, the old way of thinking was the careless worker model. That was basically blame it on the employee, okay? You know, you go to work and that was just one of the things you assume the risk associated with the job, right? So if the old idea was if you got hurt, that's basically your problem, okay? Which is really focusing on the workers, the unsafe behavior. Okay, so accidents caused by workers failing to be careful or not protecting themselves. The new, more modern way of thinking right now is known as the internal responsibility model. And essentially what that is it's not just the employees, but the employee and the employers. So the employee, supervisors, and top management all working together is the best way to ensure that, that safety is done. Okay, one key thing about operationalizing a safe environment is something called the Workplace Health and Safety Committee. Okay, and it's a key element of all health and safety laws. And in Alberta right now, if you have a workplace with more than 20 people in it, you are required to have a workplace health and safety committee. If you have between 5 and 19, the employees have the right to have a health and safety rep out of their employees, right? Less than 5, I guess it's just up to management there. But what a health and safety committee does is they act as a board of directors for health and safety issues. And the important thing about the health and safety committee, it's not a management run thing, it's equal representation. Okay, equal representation of both employees and managers. All right, and everybody acts as democracy, everybody gets a vote. Okay, so it's quite different than almost everything else in the non-unionized environment where management rules. But on a health and safety committee, you have equal representation. So what does the committee do? Well, it investigates and resolves complaints. It monitors health and safety program, and basically, like I said, acts as a board of directors to make sure that safety is being done at your organization here. Okay, they're required to meet regularly throughout the year, nine times or more, and it's you meet during working hours because obviously it's something that's important. Okay. Now, responsibility for health and safety. Ooh, look at that. It's pretty sharp, eh? With the yeah. Okay, is you have your top management, you have your employees, and your supervisors. So each one of these key players then has both responsibilities and rights. So let's break this down one by one. Start with the employees' rights, and these are kind of important things to know. So this will make a good exam question or someone. Yeah, good exam question. 3 fundamental rights of employees. The right to know about workplace hazards. Okay, so if there's things, we'll talk a little bit later about WMIS and about safety data sheets. So they've got to have the right to know if what the risks of whatever tasks that they're about to perform. They have the right to participate in correcting hazards. Right? So if something's wrong, they have input into saying, hey, we should do it this way, or we need more PPE, that sort of thing. And this one's kind of interesting. They have the right to refuse dangerous work, or including potentially dangerous work, right? And this is really an exception to a general common law principle. And we'll go back to the example I gave you, I think it was in the last video here. I talked about if management had decided that instructors at Medicine Hat College were to wear rainbow wigs and big floppy shoes. And if I'm a instructor at Medicine Hat College, I have a responsibility to obey a lawful command, right? So I should, put on the rainbow wig and put on the big floppy shoes. But what happens if those big floppy shoes are a tripping hazard? All right, that if I'm walking around the college, if we ever get back to face-to-face delivery, which would be nice. But okay, so we're back walking around the college, about to do my class here, my big floppy shoes, and then I trip and fall, right? So I could, if I have an honestly held belief, and I could, it's a reasonable request here, I could say that, no, I refuse to put on the big floppy shoes because this is a health factor, right? So I have the right to refuse dangerous work, all right? The employee also has a responsibility, and that's basically to work in a safe manner to not danger yourself or others. So obey safety regulations, right? So it's up to you to act safely. Okay? That makes sense. Employers, which is split into 2, top management and supervisors. Top management, ensure health and safety health and safety policies and training are in place and enforced, and hire expertise when needed. A really good example of this is with the recent COVID pandemic here. Top management is really tasked with having COVID policies and make sure all there's training around the COVID policies as well. And obviously, something like that is a brand new thing. So hiring experts to help them with their COVID policies there, right? So they're basically in charge of directing everything, right? Supervisors, on the other hand, these are the people who are making sure things get done on a day-to-day basis. So again, they need to be informed. They need to know about policies and training. And they follow, coach, and enforce safety practices. So they're making sure people are wearing their PPE, for example, on a daily basis, not letting things slide. And if there's a problem, like there's people are getting here, identify where safety training is needed. Again, along with employees, help identify, reduce, and eliminate safety hazards. And again, they themselves have to operate in a safe manner. So like employees, but I think doubly because they have to set a good example there. Okay, so collectively, those are the responsibilities and rights. It's an interesting slide here. In Canada, we have something called C-45, which is called the West Ray Bill. West Ray was a mine collapse that happened, I believe, in the 90s. And essentially what the West Ray Bill is top managers, supervisors, and employees can be subject to criminal penalties, i.e. you can go to jail. In addition to civil penalties, things like fines and damages for failing to take reasonable care if employees injured on the job. So this is used for really, really egregious, violations of safety practices, right? So not only as a manager are you liable for fines and damages and things like that, you can be jailed in Canada for really egregious safety violations. Okay, a couple of contemporary issues then. What's sort of hot, I guess, in health and safety is, first of all, the legalization of cannabis now for recreational use. And again, it's legal, but again, like alcohol, there's potential problems with people being impaired on the job or hungover from cannabis, that sort of thing, right? So that's one area that employers are a little bit more aware of right now. The use of mobile devices, particularly with distractions and hazards. So I guess the key one of that is like texting and driving, for example, is a really good example of mobile devices. Worker fatigue. So the fact that a lot of accidents are caused just by people having a lack of sleep and not being rested. And the last one is psychological and mental health, and it's an issue in society right now, but in particularly in health and safety, right? So feeling safe at work, not being stressed out, not being too anxious and things like that. So long-term exposure to mental health hazards can also cause health and safety difficulties. Okay, so cycle back. There's quite a bit of stuff in that little objective here, but just to recap really briefly here, I want you to know about that is, first of all, knowing the whole bit about accidents being a combination of unsafe acts and unsafe working conditions. Second of all, it's really important that health and safety, it's not always on the manager, it's not always on the employee, it's a shared responsibility, all right? So unlike almost anything else at work, it's not where managers rule, it's really a joint thing between workers, top management, and supervisors. And the way that joint cooperation is operationalized is through a health and safety committee, okay, which is a committee, it's usually a minimum of 4 people, and it's equal representatives and equal say from both employees and employers. Whoops. And what else? You should know the differences, the employees' responsibilities and the rights and responsibilities, okay, the right to be informed, for example. And what were the other ones? Sorry. The right to be informed, the right to participate, and the right to refuse. And then the role of managers and supervisors. Managers or top management to create a safety climate, and supervisor basically the day-to-day stuff, making sure that safety stuff gets done. All right, final one of this chapter here, which is a rather long chapter, is number 4, discuss ways to promote worker health and safety. Okay, so a couple things here. So this one's more or less a summary slide here. We'll go through a lot of these in more excruciating detail in the coming slides here, but how can HR help? Well, first of all, identifying and communicating job hazards. So really being, facilitating the health and safety committee. And oftentimes in HR, there's an occupational health and safety specialist, right? So they can certainly help the safety committee with things like job hazard analysis and things like that. They can help by reinforcing safety practices, all right? So again, a lot of that's through training. This is kind of interesting. Safety incentive programs. So a lot of places will have things like a safe driver program, right? So X 100,000 kilometers safety driving, you get an incentive. Okay, so that would be an example there. These next 3 are going to be done in a little bit more detail. So employee health and wellness programs. So essentially, health and wellness oftentimes is getting into the prevention part. Something called an employees assistance program. So traditionally, this has been for people who have suffered from addictions. All right, so having that available. And promoting safety globally. So again, the whole idea there is having a safety climate in your organization. All right, so take a look at the details here. Now, WMIS and MSDS, and actually you can get rid of the M because I did a little more research after I did this slide, and they're now called safety data sheets. So WMIS stands for Workplace Hazardous Material Information System. All right, which I'll show you a little video in a minute exactly what that is. And then material safety data sheets, or actually they got rid of the M, so it's SDS now. These are documents which details the hazards. Okay, so
in some workplaces, there will be dangerous products. In Canada, your employer must teach you about any dangers at work. It is up to you to ask questions and make sure you understand the dangers at your job. A hazard is a danger or risk. There are many products at work that are hazardous. You must be careful when using hazardous products. If you must use a hazardous product at work, there are 4 questions to ask. What is the hazard? What safety equipment do I wear? What do I do if there is an accident? How do I get more information? Symbols can help you understand without reading. Hazardous products must be labeled with symbols. Products with one of these symbols can be dangerous. You need to know how to use them safely. It is Canadian law for companies to label all dangerous products with these symbols. This is called the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System. For short, we say WMIS. Let's look at the WMIS symbols and what they mean. This symbol means that the product could explode. It should only be used with proper training and equipment. This is a symbol of an O on fire. It means that the product is an oxidizer. That means that it creates extra oxygen. Extra oxygen is a fire risk if near heat. Do not use or store oxidizers near heat. The flammable symbol means that it can catch fire. Keep products with this symbol away from heat. This symbol means gas under pressure. If the container is damaged, it may shoot or spin out of control. If a gas under pressure is released, it can be dangerous to breathe. This symbol means that the product is corrosive. Corrosive products can damage metal. It is also dangerous if it touches your skin or eyes. You must use protective equipment when using corrosive products. This symbol means the product is toxic. It can make you sick or kill you if you breathe, touch, or swallow it. A label with this symbol means the product could cause skin or eye problems. This symbol reminds you to wear protective equipment, or PPE. Products with this label are a health hazard. They can cause serious health problems if you use them a lot. This hazard symbol is used on products that can harm waters. They should not be poured down the drain. This symbol means biohazard. Biohazards can cause diseases or sickness in humans or animals. Read the labels carefully. Wear your protective equipment, like glasses and gloves, when using hazardous products. WHMIS labels must contain warnings and information about how to use them safely. Look for keywords on labels in addition to the WHMIS symbols. Your employer has to teach you about hazardous products at work. Always ask your supervisor if you don't understand how to use a product safely. Your employer does not want anyone to be hurt at work. It is your responsibility to ask questions and understand how to stay safe. Read safety labels and look for WHMIS symbols. Stay safe at work.
All right, so that was a pretty good explanation of what WHMIS is. And again, I'll just quickly go over what a material safety data sheet is. There'll be one on the Blackboard. Materials for this, for Chapter 2, you can take a look at it. But essentially what it is just a sheet that says, you know, gives you the detailed information about any hazardous material that you might be working with, right? So, and what you would do in case of an accident. So, like I said, I would suggest that you just take a look at the one on the Blackboard under your materials for this particular Chapter 2, and I'll give you a little bit more details, right? And in the old days, your material safety data sheets, or your SDSs, now would be in a binder somewhere that was accessible to people. I think now, obviously, with everybody's got a phone, I would imagine that most places would have it probably on a website or an app of some sort. Okay, what else have we got here? Employee wellness and employee assistance plan here. So most of the stuff we've talked about so far with health and safety has dealt with prevention or dealing with accidents. The whole idea of employee wellness, these are activities that actually are more preventative, right? So communications, activities that facilitate and encourage good health. So example might be, you know, an online or on-site employee gym or stop smoking classes or things like that. Companies can take either a passive or active approach. A passive approach is basically provide money for it, pay for a gym membership, or an active approach and follow up. The company actually would have an on-site gym with personal trainers, things like that, right? So again, a lot of companies look at an employee wellness program as an investment. It's a benefit, so people derive value from it, but also can pay off in reduced sickness and health and costs and things like that. Now, employee assistance programs, which are usually the first thing involved in a wellness program, it's a referral service for employees and dependents to help them deal with issues like traditionally it's been substance abuse. And the idea behind a employee assistance program is that a couple things. First of all, in terms of human rights, you have a duty to accommodate. So a substance abuse problem is a disability that people have. So in order, you know, so you do have at least some requirement to help people through that, to the point of undue hardship. Obviously, if somebody's so far gone with their substance abuse that they're, they turn into the equivalent of the blind bus driver, you're not much good. But up until that point, you have that. The other way to look at it is from just a strictly cost-benefit point of view is you try to repair the employee, I guess, before replacing the employee. So if someone's got a substance abuse problem or emotional problems, again, helping them through it is usually better in a long-term basis than starting over with a new employee. Okay, so that's these have been around for quite a bit, and it's usually the first component of any employee wellness plan will be a employee assistance program. Okay, implications for HR. What HR needs to be doing on an ongoing basis. So on an ongoing basis then, in terms of health and safety, first thing is consistent reinforcement and due diligence. Okay, so ensuring consistent enforcement of all safety and health rules. So at a minimum, making sure that people are following the law, right? Making sure that top management is aware of safety concerns, making sure that employees are wearing their PPE, making sure that supervisors are enforcing them. The other thing that they might help with is a health and safety audit. So there's something called a job hazards techniques review and a techniques of operations review on 54 in your textbook, to give you an idea. Most, or in a lot of large organizations, or particularly organizations that have more of a production, a production sort of bent, like a construction company or an oil field company, they will employ health and safety specialists who usually work out of the human resource department, right? So they would be part and parcel in doing health and safety audits. Would be one of the things they would do in conjunction with their health and safety committee. And probably the most important one is the whole idea of fostering a safety climate. So making sure that top management is committed to safety. Making sure that human resource practices are designed with safety in mind. An example might be if you were working on a piecework basis. So maybe your company's planting trees and you pay your people based on how many trees they plant in a day. Well, that might be good from a motivation point of view. From a health and safety point of view, that might encourage people to work too fast. And when you work too fast, sometimes you get accidents. You might get an overuse injury, like a rotator cuff, or try to carry too many trees at one time and strain your back, right? So it's good to make sure that in all your HRM practices, and that could be something even like a compensation system, that you take into concern safety when you're designing those. And really the administrative part of health and safety from HR point of view is important. So that's setting up the training courses, doing a lot of the communications around training, so getting the word out, and making sure the safety systems are in place. So accident investigation systems, WMIS, and MSDS, or SDS as we now call it. Okay, so to cycle back then for Objective 4, ways employers promote health and safety. So a couple key concepts of this is know what WMIS and MSDS is, know what an employee wellness and employee assistance programs are and why they're used, and basically how HR helps is really just with enforcement, sort of, maybe providing some technical expertise. You have a health and safety worker, and making sure management is fostering a safety climate. Okay, so to recap the entire chapter 2, there's quite a bit of information in here. So we'll start with the first learning objective 0. So know the 6 codes and acts that frame the bulk of legal context. Okay, so that was employee standards, human rights, etc. So know what those 6 are. Also, you should also take into account how common law gets in there as well. So I'd actually add one to that, those first 6. Number 2, legal, fair, and respectful, safe treatment of employees, better organizational outcomes. So the fact that, yeah, in order to do this, it's obviously you want to do it to prevent getting sued or you know, prevent getting and even ending up in jail if it was egregious. But really, you know, but being legal, fair, respectful, and safe, you know, gets you to the minimum to, and then you can build on that in order to have an engaged workforce to actually get more out of your employees. Major areas of employment legislation, again, discrimination with the human rights is really important. Privacy is important. Union management and employment standards, and equal pay for equal work. So work of equal value, the whole idea of pay equity as well there, okay? Number 3, all jurisdictions have health and safety protections based on the internal responsibility system. And that whole idea is 2 things really, is the fact that accidents are caused by unsafe practices and unsafe working conditions, and all 3 parties, which are employees, employers, and top managers, have equal responsibility in order to make sure the workplace is safe. And finally, there's ways that employers or human resources can really help with a health and safety program, chiefly through safety awareness programs, identifying hazards, and communication, just sort of getting the word out and making sure that people are operating on a safe basis. And that's it for chapter 3, sorry, chapter 2. Chapter 3 then deals with a really important topic called job analysis, and we'll get to that soon.